Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for coming. My name is John LeGrove. I'm the sub-organist here. I have to introduce the thing and say a few things. Exits, obviously where you came in. One behind the organ, at the far west end, and if for some extraordinary reason both those are blocked, it's possible also to leave the church through the vestry, which is through that door there. If you need a WC, there's one through there as well, through into the choir vestry. Could you make sure, if you have a mobile phone or pager or any other device which has the habit of bleeping, could you arrange matters so that its noise is suppressed, please, so that it's not likely to make inappropriate sounds during the concert? That would be appreciated. Entry to the concert was free. Exit isn't. There's going to be a collecting bowl somewhere, and it would be very nice indeed if you could make a contribution to the running of all these things and the cost of running the church. That would be much appreciated. Oh, and it can be done, not if you don't want to do cash. I think there's an arrangement for plastic transfer of some sort. So yes, maybe. Oh, and gift aid. Yes, I think you can even say something about that if you earn lots of money and get eligible for that. So it just remains for me to give a very big welcome indeed to George, who's, as you can see from his biography, incredibly eminent. I managed to secure his services because I know him from old, because he's an alumnus of Chetham's, and so our paths cross there. So we're very lucky indeed to have somebody so eminent, really, coming to play for us. A very, very interesting programme, as you'll see and hear. And without more ado, then, we'll get going. Okay?
Can you hear me? Fab. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's really great to be here. I'll talk a little bit as we go through about the various pieces. That's one of my favourites. It's a bit of a pig to start a concert with because it's very fast at the beginning and it's quite cold in September. But anyway, it's fun. These Buxtehude preludes make me think of something that the actor Andrew Scott said about Shakespeare, which is that he considers it kind of a playground for actors. And I think that Buxtehude is the same for organists, really. There's scope for us all to have quite a lot of fun and try different things out. Anyway, so I love playing his music for that reason. It's wonderful to be here. I have lots and lots of votes of thanks, all of which are due to John LeGrove. First of all, for inviting me to come and do a recital. Second of all, for spending the afternoon helping me to make the organ work and telling me what balances well and page turning and everything, cups of tea and buns and everything else. Thirdly, for being probably, I can say with some confidence, the single most important teacher I've had, I think, of any variety. Because when I was between the ages of 9 and 13, Mr. LeGrove taught me everything I needed to know about music, not just in terms of knowledge, but in terms of building an ear and building a sense of harmony and a sense of counterpoint. These elusive things that are very hard to really, well, I don't really quite know what it exactly was that Mr. LeGrove taught me, but I do know that it was absolutely everything that I spend all of my time doing now, and I can say with confidence that I would not be anywhere near able to have a career as a musician without his teaching when I was at school. So for that and for this welcome, I'm enormously grateful. And for keeping me safe on the way up from the parish centre by wearing his high-vis jacket as well, of course. Like I say, I'll talk a bit more as we go through the programme about the various pieces. I won't stop between each one because it's a bit of a walk and I'm a bit lazy. But the next piece is Bach's Third Trio Sonata. He wrote 6 of these, I think, which were intended as teaching pieces, really. Each limb does something different. Each hand represents a different instrument and the feet a third, like a violin and a flute and a cello or something. And so you'll hear throughout this piece no more than 3 notes at a time, but each with their own melodic intention, and they're fun pieces to play for this reason. You'll hear a spoken introduction with the explain species. These birds live for a long time and they mate for life. They're monogamous. This male, recently bereaved, is singing for a female that will never come. So the last of its species singing in a duet with the right hand of the organ. So I hope that you enjoy these. And we'll carry on then with some music arranged by Ian Farrington, who you definitely will have heard, even if you've not heard of him. If you watch the London 2012 opening ceremony, you might remember the Mr. Bean Chariots of Fire sketch. He's playing dum 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 dum, and Ian Farrington is playing the grand piano part for that. There you go. And he's arranged music and composed music for pretty much every occasion, every season of the proms for the last few years, the coronation, all sorts. So I hope that you enjoy his arrangement of Steal Away as well. But for now, we'll carry on with Bach's Third Sonata in D minor. Thank you very much.
It's a song recording of a male singing on Hawaii. These birds mate for life, so he would be singing a duet with his mate, where he sings and she sings back and forth. Here comes the male song. There's no response. Here's the male song again. That's the last male of a species singing for a female who will never come.
Thank you very much. I thought I'd just explain a little bit about how all this stuff with tape works. Those of you who are facing towards the organ might be able to see that I've got my laptop perched on the organ stool. I'm not sending emails in between pieces. I'm really not. The way these pieces work is that there's a little, you might be able to see if you're facing that way, a tiny black portable speaker on a music stand next to the organ, being gracefully demonstrated by my glamorous assistant over there. If only he were more visible somehow. I'm not sure how. Anyway, when you buy the score for a piece with tape, inside the inside cover there's a CD which has the track in it, or if your piece was written, you know, in the last 10 years or so, just an MP3 file comes emailed to you with the score. You play it through your laptop or whatever, through the speaker. In the score, there are time codes written, so by bar 4 we're at, you know, 5.5 seconds, and by bar 10 we're at, you know, 12.5 seconds or something. That way you know roughly how to line the two things up with each other. That's particularly important for the piece by Jonathan Harvey that you're going to hear in 2 pieces' time, which is designed a bit like Ed's piece to be a duet between organ and backing track, but it's more rhythmic and more intense by far. And so I'm keeping a beady eye on the time codes all the time on the laptop. I hope that you enjoy it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I'm afraid, but if you don't like it, it's only 5 minutes long. And it can't be any longer because it's with backing track. So it's a kind of furious moto perpetuo, kind of mechanical drive toccata. There's a lot of kind of agitation in it. And the idea is that there should be moments in the piece where you're not quite sure whether what you're hearing is the tape or whether it's the organ. It was written for Martin Neary, who used to be the organist at Westminster Abbey, and when it was written, the note inside says that one speaker should be put inside the organ case by the pipes, and one just next to the player, so the player can hear, but actually so that the source of the sound comes from the same place, whether it's the organ or the tape. We haven't been able to achieve that. Mr. LeGrove wouldn't let me. It was against regulations, but we'll do our best. After that piece by Jonathan Harvey comes Kenny Wheeler's opening from his Sweet Time Suite, which was originally for big band actually, but I heard it first in an arrangement for synthesizer keyboard, and I thought it might sound rather nice on the organ. It's just a 2-verse song basically. In the original, the first verse is just instrumental, and the second verse has a wordless vocal line over the top. And I'll do my best to try and bring that across in my playing of it. It's a very still piece with lots of moments of silence and lots of repetition. Before the final piece of the concert, which is Saint-Saëns' 7th improvisation, which is a bit like Harvey, quite furious, very driven, and yes, doesn't stop until the end. It just keeps building and building and building, I'm afraid. I hope you enjoy these final pieces. Before any of that, though, comes Percy Whitlock's Scherzo. He was a sort of cinema organist. He wrote a lot of excellent light music and some really good sacred music too. So I hope you enjoy these final 4 pieces.
hope you will be able to stay for some refreshments afterwards, which will be served through here. And as John said, it would be wonderful if you could make a donation to the costs of the concert and the ongoing costs of our church. There's a plate and an electronic device, a new electronic device, so you're testing it out for the first time tonight. But can I say a further thank you to George for an extraordinary concert, an amazing range in the programme. You said with kind of wonderful diffidence that you thought probably Silent Spring was a premiere here in Mellor. I suspect several of the pieces on the programme were premieres for here too. I'm sure most of us have never quite heard the same sounds coming from the organ as we heard tonight. Everything played superbly. Thank you so much indeed. Can we give George another round of applause? I should also have said, please do make a note of the forthcoming concerts which are on the back of the programme. 2 more organ recitals, an instrumental Baroque concert, and there are some flyers if you want to take one of those away, and then one of our choral concerts in November.